Hello and welcome to the Notebook for the 2023 Australian Grand Prix. I'm just wondering if the weekend, they're doing a very good, very good version actually of, I can't think of what it is. Anyway, the city's cold and what's the song name? Round two, it's me now you're gone.
You want me to sing it?
No, I know. I've got to get blinded by the lights. Blinded by the light. Oh, blinded. I know it's the weekend. But I blinded by the lights. I always get that weird thing when you can't have the. Anyway, are we blinded by the lights? There you go. That was the reference I was trying to get. What a day. I mean, what a day. I can be blinded by these lights. These lights are the ones that they are lighting up the podium. And after a crazy day like that, I guess we can say, what a weekend. What a weekend. Weekend singer. It's been. Look at this. Look, nothing says the end of an Australian Grand Prix like the green and gold confetti underneath the podium. Don't worry, we're not going in the pit lane. Don't worry. And it was Max Verstappen first, Lewis Hamilton second, and Fernando Alonso third. It's kind of familiar, isn't it? But not the 1-2 that Red Bull maybe wanted to get them back on track. But it was the P1 that Red Bull wanted to actually exorcise the demons of Melbourne for Max Verstappen. So, you know, listen, they got that done. There's all this going on, and there is still stuff going on. Got to tell you, as we speak, there are various team managers in here. The Ferrari sporting director, Lauren Merkis, is there, arguing the case about Carlos Sainz's 5-second penalty, and Haas team are up in the stewards arguing the case about whether the race should have been restarted and then finished at the same time, because it wasn't really a race in the end, with the order of benefiting Nico Hülkenberg or benefiting Fernando Alonso. And what Haas believe is that the precedent of Silverstone means that it should have been restarted with them in P4 with Hülkenberg and not Fernando Alonso put back in P3. But these are going on throughout the evening, and by the time you watch this, you might even know the result. I don't think Haas expect to get the result overturned, but they want to set a precedent. Same kind of thing with Ferrari. Ferrari don't expect Carlos Sainz to be magically reinstated for a podium, but I think they expect there is Fred Vasseur after a pointless day so far for Ferrari. They just want to set the precedent and test the theory, if you like, about exactly what's going on and what we know. Bye, Ian. Ian Roberts, probably the doctor, the man who had the least to do in an FIA jacket here today. But yeah, anyway, let's go through it because lots happened. Do you want the reasons for all the red flags, first of all? I've written them down. Might as well do it first because then it avoids us doing it a bit later. So reason for red flag number 1, gravel. Yep, I know. Reason for red flag number 2, tyre and wheel rim debris, fair enough, from Kevin Magnussen. And reason for red flag number 3, Alpine carnage and lots of different broken cars on track. Now, the reason that I shrug my shoulders in that slightly cheeky way and say gravel is that lots of teams don't think that red flag 1 was properly a red flag, not least Alfa Romeo Sauber, who had pitted their cars before and looked like they were going to benefit in a very big way from it. And plenty of other people were like, George Russell, not least, before his engine went bang. And plenty of people are thinking, well, hang on, how was that a red flag? Well, it was because there was bits of gravel and there is a safety. So to argue against myself, you know, shrugging my shoulders with saying gravel, it was, his study, Paul Stoddart, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. Nice to see you.
Yep.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it?
That was Melbourne delivering a fantastic, fantastic race where you could not predict what was going to happen. Perhaps you could predict that Max was going to win, but after that last red flag, anything could have happened.
As a proud Australian, glad to see Oscar Piastri get a couple of points.
4 points, yeah, well done. And from where he started in 16th, 18th, yeah. That's a hell of a journey up to the points, but yeah, okay. And good to see Fernando get his 101st podium. Absolutely. So right where it all started 23 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, for Minardi. If I can just say, if you haven't already, listen to Behind the Grid, the podcast. I know everyone's saying this to you, but you're a great guest.
It's over 2.5 million now. I couldn't believe it.
That's because you're quality, and the great stories in there. You missed the story about us.
from the heart, mate.
You missed the stories about us skiing down the aisle of the BAC 111. Are we not allowed to? Okay, right. No. When it was still on the ground. I mean, yeah. I was being pushed by Alex
Murray
Young.
going down the slides.
No.
At
Bournemouth. It was on the ground. It was on the ground.
Well done, mate.
You rascal, Paul. Listen, thank you very much, Paul Stoddart. Right, let's do. There's the CH. Let's do Red Bull, shall we? Because they've won the race today. Max Verstappen, P1, and not pleased with the are you allowed to, the driving standards. And I can't really believe that we're going to get through this again. I kind of have enough of Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton driving standards for life. But Max felt that because he was ahead at the apex and Lewis pushed him wide, then that was not a legitimate move, and he still was hanging on to that at the end of the race, saying, okay, well, look, if I haven't got a problem with it, but I'm hanging on to it because if that's the way these things are going to be judged, then I need to know that for the rest of the season, which I guess is fair enough. But we're not going to start all that again. I don't know if my nerves can take it. But listen, you know what I mean. That's what Max thought. I was ahead at the apex, and he pushed me off. So it was a terrible lap one early on. Max Verstappen down to P3. The Mercedes got past him. Lewis pushed me off. But Max eventually breezed past Lewis Hamilton with the magic DRS. What word should we think of this magic DRS? Magic DRS? Super duper DRS? Super duper DRS. I like that. Which is going to be talked about. But it is an advantage. We estimate, and the other engineers in the pit lane estimate that it's worth between 0.2 or 0.3 of a second on that lap compared to another car with DRS. So this Red Bull Super Duper DRS is worth an awful lot. Now, when you consider that at some tracks, Red Bull's entire advantage is 0.2 or 0.3, that's quite a handy thing to have. I don't think it is their entire advantage. There's a great car, it's very aerodynamically efficient, it's engineered well, all the rest of it. But just think about that for a little bit. It could be half of their advantage is down to their super duper DRS. Food for thought for the other teams. So anyway, and Max survived everything to finish P1. Sergio Perez pitted twice under the first safety car, got the hards tyres out of the way, or rather had them on, got boxed in at the start, that's was his problem. But then after that, it was a bit of a quieter weekend for Checo. Made his way through, but it's a missed opportunity. I think after qualifying and after the problems that he had yesterday with the brakes, it is a missed opportunity for Red Bull and Sergio Perez. He should have been P2 today or higher, should have been better, and he will want to write off Checo, poor Checo, after winning in Saudi Arabia. He will want to write off this race and make sure that brake problem that he had meant for starting from the pit lane meant that doesn't happen again. But starting from the pit lane and being P5 is pretty good, even with all the red flags. Right, Ferrari at the moment, it's Sainz P12 and Charles Leclerc with a DNF. And the frustration is, it wasn't, there's Lauren McKees back from the stewards. Lee, did you see him? There's Carlos Sainz back from the stewards as well. Very unfair. I think he believes that it is. And by the look on his face, which is worse than thunder, I would imagine that he knows that result is not going to be adjusted. Listen, it was never going to be adjusted, let's face it. But, as I said, they had to go and give it a go and test the theory. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, Charles, a real fan favourite. There were groans in the grandstand when he was not punted off, not even clonked off. It was a racing incident, really, with Lance Stroll. And when you qualify badly in P7 and you're in the carbon fibre zone, then this kind of thing can happen. As for Sainz, it was a good fight on lap 1, pitted under safety car before the gravel red flag, and that really sunk him to P11, so he's very frustrated at that, so his day didn't really get any better. Then got stuck behind Gasly for quite a while, but got through and was chasing Alonso, was going to be P4, but then got the 5-second penalty for clonking into Alonso, which he thought was a racing incident. And Fernando, there was no harm to him anyway because he finished on the podium. I think that's what doubly frustrates them. Of course, that shouldn't make a difference, doesn't make a difference, but that's what doubly frustrates them. But at least Ferrari had some pace today, and that's an interesting little upside for Ferrari going forward, because they can't say that at all the races that have been so far. Right, it's a bit glum at Ferrari, so let's see if it's a little bit more happy at Mercedes, and it should be, because Lewis Hamilton was second today, or is second today. George Russell DNF, it's an engine failure, went pop, apparently it wasn't a leak. When it came past the pit lane, it sounded like one of those jet cars, those rocket cars. If you go to a drag strip, or in the States, sometimes they have a jet car. It was like, as it came past. It was quite the sound. I was like, whoa, what's that? And I saw on the TV, it's George Russell blowing up. So yeah, you can't bottle that sound, although maybe I've done it now, it'll be a meme and you can. But yeah, it's power unit failure for George Russell. Poor George had already been done over by the red flag on gravel, red flag, gravel. Yeah, red flag, gravel on the gravel, red flag. But Lewis Hamilton, great race from him, stayed out, got Max Verstappen past at the start, and then before Max got him back. But yeah, Lewis was challenging Russell before Russell pitted, and they were saving their tyres at a time. Anyway, that seems like ancient history, but that's what happened. George said, look, I can't save my tyres and defend from Lewis Hamilton behind, which I think was a reasonable thing to say. But anyway, yeah, that's Lewis managed it all very well. And secured P2. So I think they're happy around here, aren't they? Is everyone happy around here? Is everyone happy around here?
Very happy.
Very happy. Good. All right. Fantastic. We're in the back of the. If I just tiptoe through the back of my colleague's shot, they might not notice me. Right. Okay. Good. Oh, they weren't recording anyway. It's just Steve looking. Oh, there you go. All right. Right. Were they recording? You weren't recording, were you? Did I not just get in the back of shot? Was it okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Absolutely fine.
Okay, thanks very much.
No worries.
Okay, right, let's do Alpine, and they're not going to be very happy here, because they've ended up with 2 wrecked cars and no points. And I hope that dinner, what is it? What have we got? Tempura? Prawns? Something? I hope dinner's good, because, oh, Otmar, you're on camera. James, tell him he's on camera. They've ended up with 2 wrecked cars and no points today. Not their fault. I don't think the drivers, it was the first time the drivers had come together. We always thought they would, but actually it wasn't a thing, because they were just innocent with each other. And it was just one of those things, but it has meant that they've lost a load of points. Ocon P14, he's actually qualified. Gasly's actually qualified P13. But Ocon pitted at the end of lap 1 onto the hard. Gasly benefited from the red flag, and it was all going well. Then Gasly went wide and rejoined and clunked into his teammate. So you've got to feel sorry for them, because that is a costly result from a race where they should have had 10, 11, 12 plus points down here at Alpine. God, it's really thin around here, isn't it? Cheer up. Worse things happen. Okay, I know. I'm sorry. Right, let's do McLaren, and then we can take a break, because they have scored. Let's go over the garage, Lee. They have scored a. Sorry. They have scored some points. In fact, their first points of the year. So well done, McLaren. They have scored 12 points, and that puts them straight into P5 in the Constructors' Championship. Lando Norris P6, Oscar Piastri P8. So they were, I've got Woo Gravel here, so they were very much advantaged by the red flag for gravel, both into 9th and 10th due to the free pit stop. Oscar Piastri lost out at the restart, dropped to P12, but then he got up to P11 after, ahead of Yuki, and Lando just really ran well, was really quick, did so well, and I'm still not sure that the boys did any pit stops. Alan, did the boys do any mid-race pit stops today, or was it all under red flag? One for who? Mid-race? Was it? I don't think they did. Did they? Okay. Alan Field, everybody. McLaren lifer. Okay, good. Nice. Does Lando thank you for that? Good. He doesn't even know. Did the boys do any mid-race pit stops today? Yes. Okay. I won't keep on flogging that particular horse. Anyway, listen, well done, McLaren. They've scored some points today. Right, halfway through, done 14 minutes or so. Let's take a break. More Notebook shortly. Hiya, welcome back to a marvellous, magnificent and slightly muddled Melbourne, where we've seen a very entertaining race, but with a similar result for Max Verstappen winning, Lewis Hamilton second and Fernando Alonso third. We'll get on to Aston Martin in a bit, but let me tell you the story tale of Alfa Romeo Sauber's race, because after pitting early on the first safety car, they could have been set for many, many points today. So they are frustrated at gravel race, red flag gravel. They don't really know why it happened, and it cost them a load of points, and they were always catching up from that point on. Sorry, I forgot to say, Valtteri Bottas P11, but Zhou Guanyu P9. So well done, Zhou Guanyu. He's got his, some points this season, and he has got 2 points. Both benefited from the gravel early on, but then lost out when there was a red flag. Would have been much more than it was. So yeah, never mind. It will be better luck next time, everybody here. Who have you found in there? No, it's just some guests, I see. Or have you found some annoyed-looking team members? Right, let's do Aston Martin, where Fernando Alonso has got his third podium in 3 races. And I think, knowing Alonso, even if he can score a podium, and he got a bit of luck today, well, a bit of luck. I mean, they'll say it wasn't luck, it was the correct interpretation of the rules, but maybe you could say it's a little bit of luck. Do we know that Haas, hello Scott, do we know that Haas are protesting?
That's what I'm trying to find out as well.
Okay, well, I think they are, but I don't think they expect to get anywhere. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Do you understand which line they have to get to get the order, based on what happened at Silverstone as a precedent?
It's meant to be that if you don't get to a sector, isn't it? You can't use the mini sectors or anything like that. Even Verstappen, I don't even think Verstappen had got to the first full sector. So yeah, I think the only firm position that
Marco Mattiacci.
the only firm position that they had that they could take it from happened to be that order. But I can understand why some people would take issue with that, because it's cost them a better result.
So we don't expect Haas's result to be their protest to be upheld?
I'd be very surprised.
So would I. Do you remember Marco Mattiacci, or was he before your time? Scott Mitchell-Mount, by the way.
I do, but maybe I don't recognise him. Has he got his sunglasses on?
Yay! Love it. It was a dark room where he gave that press conference when he had the sunglasses on. So yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much. So yeah, listen, that's the basis of Haas's protest. As I say, they want to test the theory, but I'm not sure that they're going to get there. And so for the while, Fernando Alonso stays P3 and Lance Stroll stays P4, and both benefited from the gravel red flag. Fernando Alonso challenged Max Verstappen in race 2, and then Fernando chased Lewis Hamilton, but he said it was difficult to get close. So you know how we were building it up and saying, you know, don't leave this one because Alonso might be able to get Hamilton. Actually, I think he probably wouldn't have been able to. Sorry to mislead you and build it up unnecessarily. But because Fernando was saying, look, it's just so difficult to get close. Listen, we don't know. He might have done, it might have been amazing, but that's not what happened in this day in history. So yeah, let's see what happens in the future. But for the moment, it looked like, well, it did. Hamilton had the legs of Fernando Alonso. Hamilton was motivated not to give up the P2, but it was a disastrous red flag too. Fernando Alonso spun, and Lance, but they got that reinstated, as I've already said. Solid race from Lance Stroll. Got stuck behind Gasly and the Sainz fight in the DRS train and couldn't get past, which is what delayed him in his total race time. But a very, very excellent, solid finish for Lance Stroll. P4, Haas, DNF for Kevin Magnussen with that spin. And at the moment, it's Hülkenberg P7. So Hülkenberg nearly hit the Alex Albon spin. That was scary, he said, P6. Kevin Magnussen lost out on the restart and restarted last. Hulk ran brilliantly and got past... he challenged, or rather Lando Norris challenged him and got P8, but then in the end Lando got past him with some stout defending from Nico Hülkenberg in the way that he does, which we love him for, but I don't know whether Lando was rolling his eyes and thinking, oh, not this again, or the stewards will say that was a bit naughty, but I'm not sure. But anyway, awesome, we'll see what happens. Kevin Magnussen spun and crashed, putting some wheel rim debris all over the track. AlphaTauri, and he got a point. Yuki Tsunoda has a point today, and I think that's AlphaTauri's first points of the season. Yuki restarted P8. Nick de Vries got clonked on the race start 2 by Ocon. Yuki struggled with the setup of the car, with the balance of the car. The engineer just said, this is what we have. I'm sorry about that. De Vries was struggling with the car for the whole of the race. After that clonk, saying the car is not right, he pitted. Yuki also pitted on the Magnussen safety car and lost out because of that. He would have been much further up. And finally, Williams. It's a DNF for Alex Albon. It's P16 for Logan Sargent. And Alex Albon absolutely gutted. It had been a great weekend. He was P6 when the rear let go and he spun it into the wall and out, whereas Logan Sargent pitted under the first safety car onto the hard tyre. Then he went to the medium. He said, this tyre is terrible. We have to get off it. And then he had some more fruity words on the radio when he said, this is so ooh. And they said, careful on the radio, Logan. We don't like that kind of words because it will get played out on the TV, which it didn't, but it did get played out on the radio feed, which is how I heard it. So there you go, another lesson for Logan in his Formula One debut. Well, listen, thank you very much for watching. We've had a great weekend in Melbourne. Thank you, Melbourne. It's been real. And we will see you in 4 weeks' time, yes, because of the cancellation of the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, on the 28th, 29th and 30th of April in Baku, Azerbaijan. Max Verstappen, 2 wins out of 3. Red Bull, they've won all 3. Let's see what Baku brings. Bye-bye.